After the longest night of her career, Stacy Wells just wanted to go home. But one simple mistake changed everything. She climbed into the wrong car, a sleek black sedan that looked exactly like her ride. The doors locked. The driver turned. And the man behind the wheel wasn't taking her anywhere safe. Kim Do-han, Seoul's youngest and most ruthless mafia boss. A man whose face no one sees and lives to talk about. Now Stacy has seen it. And he has no intention of letting her leave. This is how one exhausted mistake became the most dangerous love story of her life. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for thrilling love stories that'll leave you on the edge of your seat. Stacy's feet were dying. Not figuratively. Literally dying. 8 hours in 4-inch heels at Meridian Corp's quarterly showcase. And she was fairly certain her pinky toes had already filed for divorce from the rest of her body. She pushed through the hotel's revolving doors, the December air hitting her bare shoulders like a slap. The city sprawled before her, towers of glass and steel wrapped in neon, the pulse of Seoul's nightlife thrumming beneath the cold. Her phone buzzed. Stacy glanced down, still walking, her breath forming small clouds in the frigid air. Email from Jonathan Park, VP of Operations. Subject, tonight's presentation. Stacy, deck was adequate. Need revised projections by 7 a.m. Also, your closing remarks ran 43 seconds over. Tighten it next time. Adequate. She'd spent 3 weeks on that presentation. 3 weeks of late nights, skipped lunches, and enough coffee to give a horse heart palpitations. She'd nailed every question, charmed every investor, and managed to make their quarterly losses sound like strategic repositioning. Adequate. Her thumbs flew across the screen as she typed a response she'd never actually send. Dear Jonathan, adequate this. She deleted it. Typed instead, thank you for the feedback. I'll have revisions ready by 6 a.m. Send. God, she needed a bath. A glass of wine. Her couch. In that order. The rideshare app glowed on her screen. Your driver is arriving. Black sedan. License plate ending in 7x2. Stacy looked up, scanning the line of cars idling along the hotel's circular drive. Town cars, SUVs, a stretched limousine disgorging a group of men in expensive suits. There. Sleek black sedan. Tinted windows. Parked exactly where the app indicated. She didn't check the plates. She didn't even look at the driver. She was too busy mentally calculating how many hours of sleep she could squeeze in before Jonathan's 7 a.m. deadline crushed her soul. Stacy pulled open the back door and slid inside. The leather seat embraced her like a cloud, soft, buttery, expensive. The interior smelled like sandalwood and something deeper, darker. The kind of scent that came in bottles with no labels and price tags with too many zeros. Fancy Uber, she thought vaguely, already typing her address into her phone. Must be one of those premium ones. Long night, she muttered, not looking up. Just take me to 247 Hanamdong. I'll tip extra if you skip the Gangnam traffic. Silence. No cheerful greeting. No certainly ma'am. No K-pop playlist clicking on. Just silence, thick as velvet. And then, click. The locks engaged. The sound was small. Insignificant. The kind of sound you hear 100 times and never think about. But something about this click settled into Stacy's bones like ice water. Her thumbs stopped moving. Slowly. So slowly. She raised her eyes from her phone. The partition between the front and back seats was down. No plexiglass. No rideshare ID badge hanging from the rearview mirror. No phone mount with a GPS app. Just a man in the driver's seat. Perfectly still. The city lights slid past the windows, illuminating him in fragments. A sharp jaw, carved like it had been designed to intimidate. Jet black hair, cropped short, styled with precision. The edge of a white dress shirt beneath a suit jacket, so perfectly tailored it probably had its own insurance policy. His hands rested on the steering wheel. Relaxed. Casual. Like he had all the time in the world. This isn't my Uber. The realization crashed through her like a wave of ice water. She grabbed the door handle and yanked. Nothing. She yanked again, harder, her heartbeat slamming against her ribs. There's been a mistake. Her voice came out too high, too thin. I'm in the wrong car. I just need you to unlock the door and I'll. No mistake. His voice stopped her cold. Low. Smooth. The kind of voice that didn't need to raise itself to command a room, or a car, or a city block, or an empire. It wrapped around the two words like silk wrapped around a blade. The man shifted, adjusting his rearview mirror. Not for the road. For her. Dark eyes met hers in the reflection. Unreadable. Assessing. The faintest hint of something that might have been amusement, or might have been hunger, flickered across his features. You're in exactly the right car, Stacy Wells. Her blood turned to ice. He knew her name. How do you? The words tangled in her throat. Who are you? The car pulled smoothly away from the curb, merging into the river of headlights and taillights that flowed through the city's veins. Nobody honked. Nobody noticed. Just another black sedan gliding through the night. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he drove, one hand on the wheel, movements precise and unhurried, while Stacy's mind spiraled through every self-defense tip she'd ever heard and immediately forgotten. Keys between the fingers. Go for the eyes. Scream as loud as you can. Her keys were in her purse. His eyes were watching the road, and screaming would require her lungs to work, which they currently weren't. Kim Do-han. He said it simply, like the name was both an answer and a warning. It meant nothing to her. She clutched her phone, thumb hovering over the emergency call button. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. He didn't even glance back. Ask them how quickly they can locate a car with no plates, no registration, and no official record of ever existing. Stacy's thumb froze. Ask them, Do-han continued, his tone almost conversational. How many officers in this city would respond to a call involving my name? Then ask yourself how many of those officers work for me. The car turned down a side street, away from the neon, away from the crowds, away from everything bright and safe and known. Stacy's chest tightened. What do you want? She hated how her voice shook. Hated it. Money? I have money. I can. A soft sound escaped him. It took her a moment to realize it was a laugh. Low. Quiet. Like he'd almost forgotten how. Money. He repeated the word like it was quaint. A child's offering of pocket change. No, Stacy Wells. I don't want your money. The car slowed. Stopped. Red light. Do-han shifted in his seat, turning to face her for the first time. One arm draped over the steering wheel, his body angled toward the back, toward her, blocking any illusion of escape. The light from outside painted shadows across his face, the sharp lines of his cheekbones, the smooth skin, the mouth that curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. His eyes, though, his eyes were the dangerous part. Dark. Focused. The eyes of a man who had looked at 100 people the way he was looking at her now. She doubted most of them had survived the experience. Here's the situation, he said. You walked into my car. You've seen my face. You've heard my name. He let the words hang in the air. In my world, people who see what you've seen, who know what you now know, don't get to simply leave. Stacy's throat closed. I didn't see anything, she whispered. I don't know anything. I just wanted to go home. And yet, he tilted his head, studying her like she was a problem he hadn't quite solved yet. Here you are. The light turned green. He didn't move, didn't look away. The car idled, engine humming, while the city breathed around them, completely unaware of the woman trapped inside. Please. The word escaped before she could stop it. Small. Desperate. Please, I won't tell anyone. I'll forget your face. I'll forget your name. Just let me. Let you go. Do-han's expression didn't change. And what guarantee do I have that you'll keep that promise? I swear. The promises of a frightened woman. His voice dropped, soft as smoke. Worth less than the air used to speak them. He turned back to the wheel. The car began to move. So here's what's going to happen. His eyes found hers again in the rearview mirror, dark glass reflecting something cold and absolute. You're going to sit quietly. You're going to do exactly what I tell you. And maybe, I'll let you live long enough to regret climbing into the wrong car. Stacy's vision blurred. Tears or terror, she couldn't tell. Why? The question ripped out of her. If you're going to kill me anyway, why not just do it? Why this? Something flickered across his face. There and gone so fast, she almost missed it. He was quiet for a long moment. The city scrolled past the windows, restaurants and clubs and late-night convenience stores, people laughing on sidewalks, couples holding hands, 1,000 ordinary lives in 1,000 ordinary moments. None of them could see her. None of them would save her. Because, Do-han finally said, you might still be useful. The car turned onto an elevated highway, leaving the lights behind, heading toward the darker edges of the city where the buildings grew sparse and the shadows grew long. Stacy pressed her back against the seat, her hands trembling around her phone. Useful. She didn't know what that meant. She wasn't sure she wanted to. Duhan's eyes met hers one more time in the mirror. Welcome to my world, Stacy Wells. The city disappeared behind them, and Stacy realized, with a cold, sinking certainty, that the life she'd known, the presentations and the emails and the too tight heels and the 7 a.m. deadlines, might already be over. She'd walked into the wrong car, and now there was no walking out. The car slowed. Stacy's heart lurched as Duhan pulled into an underground parking structure, the fluorescent lights casting everything in a sickly yellow glow. He killed the engine and turned to face her. Get in the front seat. She didn't move. Now, something in his voice made her obey. She climbed between the seats, her dress catching on the console, and dropped into the passenger side. The leather was still warm from his presence. Duhan's hand closed around her wrist, firm, inescapable. A man is coming. You're going to smile. You're going to stay silent. You're going to act like you belong next to me. And if I don't, his grip tightened. Not painful, just absolute. Then I can't guarantee what happens next. Headlights swept across the windshield. A black SUV pulled up beside them, and Stacy's stomach dropped. Two men stepped out. Both wore dark suits. Both moved like weapons waiting to be used. Duhan released her wrist and stepped out of the car. He buttoned his jacket with one hand, casual, unhurried, and walked toward them. Stacy watched through the tinted glass. The conversation was in Korean. Rapid. Clipped. She caught nothing but tone, and the tone was ice. One of the men gestured sharply. Duhan didn't flinch. He simply raised one hand, and the man stopped talking immediately. Completely. Like someone had cut his strings. Then Duhan said something low. The man's face went pale. Stacy watched him reach into his jacket and produce an envelope with trembling fingers. Duhan took it without looking, passed it to the second man, and then he smiled. It was the most terrifying thing she'd ever seen. A smile with no warmth, no humanity. The smile of a man who had already decided someone's fate and was simply waiting for them to realize it. The two men bowed. Actually bowed. Then they retreated to their SUV and drove away like the parking garage was on fire. Duhan stood alone for a moment, adjusting his cufflinks. When he slid back into the driver's seat, Stacy was pressed against the passenger door, her breath shallow. He glanced at her. Good girl. You followed instructions. She couldn't speak. Her mind was still replaying that smile. This wasn't just a rich man with a nice car. This was something else entirely. Duhan started the engine. Now, he said softly, let's discuss what you're going to do for me. The penthouse sat at the top of a building that didn't exist on any map Stacy knew. Duhan guided her through a private elevator, his hand resting at the small of her back, light enough to seem almost polite, firm enough to remind her she wasn't a guest. The doors opened into a space that stole her breath. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed Seoul's skyline like a glittering wound. Modern furniture in blacks and grays. Art on the walls that probably cost more than her entire existence. Everything cold. Everything perfect. Everything controlled. Just like him. Make yourself comfortable, Duhan said, removing his jacket and draping it over a chair. You'll be here for a while. Stacy spun to face him. You can't just keep me here. And yet, he loosened his tie, watching her with those unreadable eyes. Here you are. People will notice I'm missing. My job. My friends. Your boss who sends emails at midnight calling your work adequate? Duhan moved toward the bar, pouring himself something amber. Those friends you haven't texted in 3 weeks? That empty apartment with takeout containers in the fridge? Her blood ran cold. How do you know that? He took a slow sip. I know everything about you, Stacy Wells. The question is, what do you know about survival? I know you're a monster. The word hung between them. Duhan set down his glass. He crossed the room slowly, each step deliberate, until he stood close enough that she could smell sandalwood and smoke and something dangerous underneath. Monster. He tilted his head. Is that what you see? What else would I call a man who kidnaps women and threatens their lives? A man who survives. His voice dropped low. A man who built an empire from nothing while people like you sat in boardrooms arguing about projections. People like me don't hurt others. People like you don't notice others. He leaned closer, his breath warm against her temple. You walk through the world asleep, Stacy. Safe in your delusions. Tell me, How does it feel to finally be awake? Her heart slammed against her ribs. Fear, yes, but something else too. Something that made her skin flush and her thoughts scatter. She hated him. So why couldn't she step back? Duhan smiled, slow, knowing. Get some rest, he murmured. Tomorrow, we discuss your usefulness. He walked away. Stacy stood frozen, burning. Stacy woke to the sound of the elevator. She'd fallen asleep on the leather couch, still in her dress. Exhaustion finally winning against terror. Now she sat up, heart pounding, as Duhan stumbled into the penthouse. Stumbled. The word didn't fit him. Nothing about weakness fit him. But there he was, jacket gone, white shirt soaked crimson, one hand pressed against his side. Blood dripped onto the marble floor. What happened? The question escaped before she could stop it. Duhan looked at her, and for the first time, his mask slipped. Pain flickered across his features. Real. Human. Vulnerable. Business, he gritted out. He made it 3 more steps before his knees buckled. Stay thinking. She caught him before he hit the ground, his weight dragging her down with him. They landed hard, his body half in her lap, blood warm against her fingers. You're hurt. You need a hospital. No hospitals. His hand gripped her arm. Tight. Desperate. No records. No witnesses. Then you'll die. I've survived worse. But his voice was fading, his eyes losing focus. Stacy looked at the wound. A gash across his ribs, deep and ugly. Not a bullet, a blade. Someone had gotten close enough to cut him. First aid kit, she demanded. Where? Bathroom. Under the sink. She ran. Minutes blurred into a nightmare of gauze and antiseptic and hands that wouldn't stop shaking. Duhan lay on the cold floor, jaw clenched, watching her with glassy eyes as she pressed cloth to wound and prayed she wasn't killing him. Why are you helping me? His voice was barely a whisper. Because I'm not like you. She pulled the bandage tighter. I don't let people die. Something shifted in his expression. The ice cracked. Underneath it, something raw. Something hungry. His hand came up. Fingers brushed her jaw, leaving a smear of blood on her cheek. Stacy. Just her name. Nothing else. But the way he said it. She should have pulled away. Every rational thought screamed at her to run, to leave him bleeding, to save herself. Instead, she leaned closer. His lips found hers. The kiss tasted like copper and desperation. His mouth was warm despite the blood loss, soft despite his hardness. She felt his hand slide into her hair, pulling her deeper. Wrong. This was so wrong. She kissed him anyway. She waited until he was asleep. 3 days had passed since the kiss. 3 days of Duhan recovering, growing stronger, watching her with an intensity that made her feel hunted even in stillness. 3 days of Stacy pretending she hadn't felt something shatter inside her when their lips met. She couldn't stay. Whatever this was, Stockholm Syndrome, temporary insanity, a death wish wrapped in desire, she had to end it. The elevator required a code, but she'd watched him, memorized his fingers. For digits. The door slid open. Stacy ran. The parking garage was cold and empty, her bare feet slapping against concrete. She spotted a door marked exit and sprinted toward it, lungs burning. Freedom so close she could taste it. A hand caught her arm. She screamed as Duhan spun her around, slamming her back against a concrete pillar. Not hard enough to hurt, just hard enough to stop. He looked like death warmed over, pale, bandage visible beneath his half-buttoned shirt, breathing ragged from exertion he shouldn't have attempted. But his eyes were volcanic. Did you think, he said, voice deadly quiet, that I wouldn't notice? Let me go. She struggled against his grip. Useless. Even wounded, he was stronger. You can't keep me forever. Can't I? His body pressed closer, caging her against the pillar. She could feel his heartbeat. Fast. Furious. I saved your life, she spat. I stitched you up while you bled on the floor. And this is how you repay me? By keeping me prisoner. You saved my life. His jaw tightened. And then you tried to leave it. Do you have any idea what that felt like? Waking up to find you gone. The rawness in his voice caught her off guard. I don't belong to you. No. He leaned closer, his lips brushing her ear. Then why did you kiss me back? She had no answer. His mouth crashed into hers. This kiss wasn't tender. It was punishment. Possession. His teeth grazed her bottom lip, his hands pinning her wrists above her head. He kissed her like he was branding her, claiming her, making sure she understood exactly who she belonged to. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathless. "Run again," Du-han whispered. "And I won't be this gentle." The man arrived without warning. Stacy was curled on the couch, pretending to read a book she'd found on Du-han's shelf, when the elevator doors opened and a stranger walked in like he owned the place. Tall, broad, a scar running from his eyebrow to his jaw. He wore the same expensive darkness as Du-han, but where Du-han was controlled ice, this man was barely contained fire. His eyes found her immediately. So it's true. His Korean was sharp, but he switched to English, for her benefit, she realized. The great Kim Du-han is keeping a pet. Du-han emerged from the hallway, still buttoning his shirt. His expression revealed nothing, but Stacy caught the tension in his shoulders. Jun-sik, I don't recall inviting you. Since when do I need an invitation? Jun-sik circled closer to Stacy, studying her like meat at market. She's pretty. Is she worth the risk? She's none of your concern. Everything is my concern. I'm your second. Jun-sik stopped inches from the couch, looking down at her. Does she know what you are? What you've done? How many bodies are buried beneath your empire? Stacy's stomach turned. Enough. Du-han's voice cracked like a whip. We'll discuss business in my office. Alone. Jun-sik smiled, cruel, knowing. Of course, boss. They disappeared down the hall. But the door didn't close completely. Stacy knew she shouldn't listen. Knew that ignorance was the only thing keeping her alive. But her feet moved anyway, carrying her silently across the marble until she stood just outside the gap. Voices filtered through. The Seoul family is moving product through the southern ports. If we don't strike first, I'm aware. Then act like it. Your father would have already. My father is dead. Du-han's voice was ice and razors. I am not him. Silence. Then Jun-sik, lower now. The summit is in 3 days. Every family will be there. If they discover you've been compromised by some random woman. She's not random. Then what is she? The pause stretched forever. Necessary. Stacy stepped back, heart hammering. The Seoul family. The summit. 3 days. She didn't understand all of it. But she understood enough. Whatever Du-han was involved in, whatever war was brewing, she was now standing directly in the crossfire. And someone would eventually decide she was a liability worth eliminating. She found him on the balcony at 3 a.m. The city sprawled beneath them, a sea of lights and shadows, indifferent to the violence brewing in its veins. Du-han stood at the railing, cigarette burning between his fingers, smoke curling into the cold air. He didn't turn when she approached. You should be sleeping. So should you. A ghost of a smile. Sleep is a luxury I can't afford. Stacy stepped closer, wrapping her arms around herself against the chill. She should have stayed inside, should have kept her distance. But something about seeing him like this, alone, unguarded, human, pulled at her. The summit, she said quietly. It's dangerous, isn't it? Everything in my world is dangerous. That's not an answer. He took a long drag, exhaling slowly. Yes, it's dangerous. People will try to kill me. Some might succeed. The words hit her harder than expected. She told herself it was fear. Fear of what would happen to her if he died. Not fear of losing him. She was a terrible liar, even to herself. Why do you do it? She asked. This life. You're smart. Rich. You could be anything. Du-han laughed, hollow, bitter. You think I chose this? I was born into blood, Stacy. Raised on violence. My father put a knife in my hand before I could read. He flicked ash into the wind. This isn't a career. It's a cage. Then break out. He turned to face her then, and the rawness in his eyes stole her breath. I was a machine, he said softly. For years. No feeling. No weakness. Just decisions and consequences. He stepped closer, close enough to touch. Then you fell into my car. Du-han. You make me feel human. The confession seemed to cost him everything. I don't know if that's salvation or destruction. But I know I'm not ready to find out. His hand lifted, fingers brushing her cheek with impossible gentleness. I should let you go. It's the smart thing. The safe thing. Then let me go. His jaw tightened. His eyes burned. I can't. The words were barely a whisper. I need you to stay. Stacy's heart cracked open. She should have said no. Should have demanded her freedom. Instead, she leaned into his touch. Okay. They took her in broad daylight. Stacy had stepped onto the balcony for air. Just a moment. Just a breath. When hands clamped over her mouth and dragged her backward. A hood swallowed her vision. Zip ties bit into her wrists. She screamed, but the sound died against rough fabric. Then movement. A vehicle. Voices in Korean she couldn't understand. When the hood finally came off, she was in a warehouse. Concrete floors. Flickering lights. The smell of rust and fear. A man stood before her. Older. Silver-streaked hair. A smile that belonged on a snake. So you're the woman who softened Kim Do-han. He circled her chair slowly. I expected someone more impressive. Who are you? Seo Myung-ho. The name your lover whispers in his nightmares. Stacy's blood froze. The Seo family. He'll come for me, she said, hating how her voice trembled. I'm counting on it. Myung-ho leaned close, his breath sour against her face. The summit is tomorrow. Every family will watch Kim Do-han abandon his throne to chase a worthless woman. And when he arrives, alone, desperate, weak, I'll take everything he has. He won't fall for it. He already has. Myung-ho straightened, adjusting his cuffs. Love makes men stupid. Even men like him. Hours passed. Or maybe minutes. Time blurred into terror. Then, gunfire. The warehouse erupted into chaos. Men shouting. Bodies falling. The sharp crack of bullets splitting the air. The door exploded inward. Do-han stood in the smoke. Gun raised, blood splattered across his white shirt. His eyes scanned the room until they found her. And something fractured in his expression. Relief. Fury. Desperation. He crossed the distance in seconds, cutting her bonds with a blade that appeared from nowhere. Are you hurt? No. Do-han, it's a trap. I know. He pulled her to her feet, his grip bruising. I don't care. More gunfire behind them. Shouting. Footsteps closing in. Do-han pressed his forehead to hers, just for a heartbeat. His eyes were wild. Terrified. Human. I told you, he breathed. I need you. Then he grabbed her hand. And they ran. Behind them, Seo Myung-ho's empire crumbled. Ahead of them, nothing but uncertainty and danger. But Do-han's fingers were laced through hers. And somehow, impossibly, that was enough. The summit was held in a temple of glass and power. Every crime family in Seoul gathered beneath crystal chandeliers, dressed in silk and secrets. Stacy stood at Do-han's side, wearing a black gown he'd had delivered that morning. She felt like a lamb among wolves. But Do-han's hand never left hers. The whispers started the moment they entered. Eyes traced her form, calculating her worth, measuring her weakness. She recognized Jun-sik in the corner, his expression unreadable. Others she didn't know. All of them dangerous. A man approached, elderly, commanding, with the bearing of a king. Kim Do-han. His voice carried across the room. You've caused quite a disruption. Seo Myung-ho's operation is in ruins. His lieutenants are dead or scattered. He took something that belonged to me. A woman. The elder's gaze slid to Stacy. You risked everything. Your position, your alliances, your life, for a woman. The room held its breath. Do-han stepped forward, releasing Stacy's hand only to wrap his arm around her waist, pulling her against his side. A claim. A declaration. Not just a woman. His voice rang clear, cold, absolute. My wife. Stacy's heart stopped. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Jun-sik's eyes widened. The elder's expression flickered. Surprise, calculation, respect. You understand what this means, the elder said slowly. She becomes part of our world, bound by our laws, protected by your blood, and endangered by your enemies. I understand. And you? The elder turned to Stacy. Do you accept this? There is no leaving once you belong to us. Every eye in the room fixed on her. Stacy thought of her old life. The empty apartment. The thankless job. The loneliness she pretended was independence. Then she looked at Do-han. This man who killed without hesitation. Who held her like she was precious. Who burned his empire to the ground just to keep her safe. Monster. Savior. Captor. Lover. All of it. None of it. Something entirely new. I accept. Do-han's grip tightened. When she looked up, his eyes were blazing. Relief, triumph, and something terrifyingly close to love. The elder nodded slowly. Then it is done. The room erupted into murmurs, but Stacy heard none of it. She could never go back now. Strangely, she didn't want to. The penthouse felt different now. Stacy stood at the window, watching Seoul glitter beneath her like scattered diamonds. The same view she'd feared just days ago. The same glass cage that had trapped her. But the bars had transformed into something else entirely. Do-han's reflection appeared behind her in the glass. He'd shed his jacket, loosened his tie, but still carried the weight of the summit on his shoulders. His arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her back against his chest. Having regrets? No. The answer surprised her with its honesty. I should, but I don't. His lips brushed her temple. Good. They stood in silence, watching the city breathe. Two people who shouldn't fit together, locked in an embrace that defied logic. What happens now? Stacy asked quietly. Duhan turned her in his arms, tilting her chin up to meet his gaze. Those dark eyes that had terrified her now held something different. Possession, yes, but also tenderness. Promise. Now you learn what it means to stand beside me. My world doesn't forgive weakness. It doesn't allow second chances. His thumb traced her bottom lip. But you won't face it alone. And if I can't handle it, you will. No hesitation. No doubt. You're stronger than you know, Stacy Wells. He kissed her then, slow, deep, sealing a promise neither of them fully understood. When he pulled back, his expression shifted. Darker. Troubled. There's something you need to know. Stacy's stomach tightened. What? Duhan reached into his pocket and produced a photograph. A man in a government uniform. Sharp features. Cold eyes. A face that radiated calculated menace. Director Kong Min-jun, National Intelligence Service. Duhan's jaw hardened. He's been hunting my family for 15 years. And now he knows about you. What does that mean? It means Seo Myung-ho was just the beginning. Duhan's grip on her tightened. Kong won't stop until he destroys everything I've built. Everything I love. The weight of his words settled over her. A government agent. An enemy who couldn't be bought or intimidated. So what do we do? Duhan's smile was sharp as a blade. We survive. Together. He pressed his forehead to hers. You are mine now, Stacy Wells. And I protect what's mine. Outside, the city sparkled. Inside, a storm was gathering. Their story was just beginning. One mistake. One satisfying man. One love that could destroy them both. Part 2 is coming. Subscribe now and hit that notification bell, because Duhan and Stacy's story is far from over. See you soon.